All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar this morning. Today we'll be covering how to submit your customer success story, as well as the Embeddable Widgets tool on Illinois workNet. And so here's just a quick agenda we have today. So we're going to talk about success stories, the importance of them, the resources that are available to you, how to submit your customer success story, embeddable widgets, and then we'll do a screen share of success stories and the embeddable widgets pages, and we'll open it up to questions. Along the way, if you have any questions, you can feel free to just drop them in the chat and we will get those answered. And this webinar is being recorded as well, and afterwards we'll send a follow-up with the link to the recording and the PowerPoint slides. Okay, so success story importance. So the submitting success stories on Illinois workNet is important for customers and programs. And it's important for customers because they can see what their peers are doing. And they can connect to others facing similar situations that they may be in. It also shows customers how others have succeeded in the program, and it provides credibility. For programs, it gives credibility to the program itself and the organizations running them. It gives others hope that the program can work for them too. And it also highlights aspects of the program that works best. Additionally, success stories are used in workforce development annual reports. Each year, these stories are reviewed by the Department of Commerce, and various stories are added to these annual reports. Success story resources. So we have the success story guide here, which you can access at illinoisworknet.com/success. It's got some introductory text. At the top to the right, there is a webinar overview of submitting your customer success story. And there's a portal for participants, employers, and service providers to submit a success story. The one, of course, today we'll be focusing on is the service providers option. And additionally, on this page, we have resources that include tips for writing success stories and one-page guides for submitting on behalf of a customer, business, or community's success story. And so for some tips for writing a success story, you'll want to show how the program made a difference in the customer's life. So it's more than just a list of events or activities, but the narrative portion of the success story demonstrates a positive change and describes how those changes benefits them and the people of Illinois. And a good success story uses evidence to show value of the program. And so as you're putting together the narrative portion of the success story, there's several questions we have here to keep in mind as you're writing it. So where was the participant when they started the program, and what was their background or challenge? What services, programs, or activities was the individual involved in as they prepared for employment? What WIOA and other partners were included in the employment plan? What was the outcome of those services, programs, or activities? For example, did they earn any credentials? Did they learn or experience? What did they learn or experience in the program? What positive changes occurred? And lastly, we have what are the details of the employment that participant received? We also have one-page kind of guides for writing success stories on behalf of a customer, whether they're an individual, employer, or community. And they all kind of look like this, and included in here is information on what makes an effective success story, telling about the customer's success, putting the final touches on the success story you're submitting, guidance on what makes a good picture, and step-by-step instructions for adding the success story. And so we have this for individuals, employers, and community. So to submit your success story, So first you'll go to illinoisworknet.com and you'll log into your account by selecting the icon at the top of the page. And then once you're logged in, you'll select the menu and then updates and help. And within that dropdown, you'll select success stories. And this will take you to the public page that shows the various stories that have been submitted for different workforce development programs. And you can search through these by using the filters provided. We have participant type, which, as we've said, is individuals, employers, and communities. Program type, in that case, that would be WIOA adult, WIOA youth, incumbent worker, and so forth. Program detail type, to find out more specific program details, such as training. And we have additional filters such as a geographic search as well. And I believe the other one is a career pathway, and review more filters there. But just above those filters, we have text and some success story videos included in a playlist here, but you'll then click submit a success story. And then this will take you to the guide page. And on here, as we said, we have the text, the videos, how to submit, and submission portals for the different types of stories. But today, of course, we're going to be focusing on the service providers. So under that section, you'll click the login to your account and choose to submit your customer business story. And if you're not already logged in, it'll ask you to log in, but then it'll take you to this page. And from here, you can select to submit a success story on behalf of the different participant types. But for this one, we're going to focus on submitting for a customer. So when you click search, you'll then be taken to a search where you can enter the username or the name of the customer you're adding a success story for. And then you'll click search. Then the results will display here, and you can see, first name, last name, username, email, and date of birth. In case there are customers whose names are very similar, but there's different, date of birth, you'll just, review and verify the customer that you are wanting to submit a story for. And then once you've found and verified that information, you'll click the select button. And then on this page, this will take you to the success story form. And so you'll see at the top that this will show under participant type, participant, and you'll see a couple sections here, participant info and story info. And participant info, when you've selected the customer, that customer's information will auto-populate in these fields: name, address, city, state, and zip code. And for the story info, you'll want to select program type, the program type that customer was in. And once you select that program type, that all this information will populate as well: the service provider, the address, city, state, zip code, current pathway, industry, and credentials earned if available. But in order for that information to auto-populate, you have to select the program type. And so then you'll, once the information is auto-populated, you'll just want to review and make sure it is correct. If you find any incorrect information, or if you select a program type and that customer is not, that information is not auto-populating, there may be a case of duplicate accounts with Illinois WorkNet and IWDS. And if you do run into that, just send an email to info@illinoisworknet.com, and we'll follow up and work with you about that. But you'll review the information and complete any blank fields. All required fields must be completed, and the required ones would be the ones with a red asterisk. And the next few slides will show the different form fields for some of the program types. For example, on this one, we have trade adjustment assistance and dislocated workers. There's a few boxes here. We have participant info, pre-participation information, story info, and post-participation info. But the one box to kind of draw your attention to is the bottom left one, the key. This shows what fields are required, what will auto-populate, and what's underlined. So the required fields are, for these two programs, name, address, date of birth, gender, and then into the program type information, the program type, service provider, address, program details, and the credential earned, date attained. If it has the tilde, it'll auto-populate, and just taking a quick glance at this, it looks like everything will auto-populate once you select the customer's name and program type. And the information that will be available to the public is the underlined information. So that includes name, program type and service provider, zip code, program details, and current pathway industry. So as you can see, a lot of this information will auto-populate. And so on this next slide, we have kind of the breakdown for WIO Adult, WIO Youth, and special programs. Again, we have that key in the center here. So while it looks like everything is required, it also seems that everything will also auto-populate. And again, that same information that's going to be available to the public: name, program type, service provider, zip code, current pathway, and program details. And this is going to be the last slide with the form fields here for Apprenticeship Illinois, incumbent worker, DWG, and laid off workers. We can see again that, while most of this information is required, a lot of it will auto-populate. And again, that same information that is available to the public, in this case, name, program type, service provider, zip, current pathway, and program details. Okay, and going back to the entry form below the participant and program information, we'll have the kind of narrative part of the success story. So, those questions that we asked you to consider earlier when submitting and putting together a success story, this is where that information is going to be captured. So first, you'll give your success story a title. And then, keeping all those questions in mind as that story is being written up, that text will be included in the body here. And then from there, you'll upload a photo of your customer. And then once that has been completed, what you'll then do is check the accept agreement box and click save story. And so about the approval process for success stories, after saving your success story, you'll then be directed to a page that will show a preview of the success story you submitted. And it'll take up to 5 business days for the story to be reviewed and approved. If there's any questions, you'll be contacted by the number or email address that you provided, and then we'll follow up and iron that out. Okay, so we're going to hit pause on success stories for now, but we'll do a screen share in a little bit and get back to that. But next, I want to go over widgets. So what is a widget? It's a standalone application that can be embedded or included into other websites. And Illinois WorkNet has several widget options, and all of these are interactive, and it makes the content seamless from other sites. And to use these widgets, a short code is copied and pasted into a website's source code or HTML. And setting this up within workNet is very easy. It only takes a few minutes. So what happens is, we put these widgets together to give you these tools and resources so that you can edit and include it on your website, and in some cases customize it to fit the needs of your customers. And so another great benefit with this is anytime there's an update to the widget or the tool, it's automatically going to be updated on your website. So you won't have to worry about, do I have the latest version? You would. And so one example is that IACEA uses the Service Finder widget on their website for education locations and referrals. And this slide has a list of some, but not all of our widgets and a description with it. These look like they're primarily Illinois workNet tools, but we also have examples of widgets from IOER. That's the Illinois Open Educational Resources library that may be available as well. And the short URL for the page that we're going to show in a second here is illinoisworknet.com/widgets. But just to show some of the samples we have, since we've been talking about success stories, you can display success stories from WIOA and related programs that have had a positive impact on your community. And as you can see in this screenshot, you can customize it by your LWIA, EDR, program type, career pathway, along with a height and width. And that code will be generated automatically below in this box here. But again, we'll show that in a screen share here in a second. We also have one for the event calendar that allows you to kind of customize it to show different audiences, grade levels, fields of interest, different series if it's part of apprenticeship week or virtual job fairs. You can select multiple categories here along with frequencies, and as well as the view. Do you want to have a month view, a list view, a smaller view, and so forth, as well as OWIA. That's another option there. We also have one for articles on Illinois workNet, and this widget will display articles that cover a wide variety of articles we have on career and employment topics. I believe we now have over 400 articles, so there's a lot to look through. We also have one for the job finder. And this allows customers to search for jobs near them that they can apply for. And as a reminder, job finder is synced up with Indeed.com. So any jobs that are posted on Indeed that are within Illinois, they can be discovered through this job finder search. Illinois workNet related resources. This is tied into IOER, but kind of been looking at IOER. You can select if it's available, different library IDs, collection IDs of those resources that you can provide to your customers. Service Finder, we had that example from IACEA a few slides back, but you can also customize this with having your customers locate organizations, schools, work support, and so forth. We also have one for the WIOA training program search that allows users to find training programs and training providers near them. We also have one for the WIOA board activity tool to show upcoming meetings, calendar events, and documents that can be included on your website as well. And we also have one for the WIOA e-policy manual. That, of course, is the policy for information for all things WIOA, notices, resources, references, helpful links, contact info, documentation. And there's a breakdown of all the chapters and sections there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a new screen share now. So we can just kind of go through some of the items that we had discussed.
And David, while you're pulling that up, I just wanted to chime in. Hello, everybody. This is Olivia Miller with the SIU Illinois WorkNet team. I have shared in the chat a link to the PowerPoint David went over as a helpful resource for you all. You can also access it on the success story page. And then I also shared a link to a photo release form that we have available through Illinois WorkNet. If your organization does not have their own photo release form that they use, we encourage you to have your customer or employer sign this photo release form for whatever photo you do use for the success story, so that you can have that on file in the event anything comes up. We've never had a situation in which a customer is given a photo for a success story and then come back. But we do like to have those just in case. So we offer a generic one if you don't have your own. And that link is also in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Olivia. Okay, and so on the screen share here, you can see that I'm logged into Illinois WorkNet. To get to success stories, we'll just have a walkthrough of how to get there. So under menu, we'll select updates and help, and then success stories. And here's that page that has that introductory text, this playlist of videos of success stories, the link to submit a success story, which we'll go to in a second, but also maybe my connection here is, there we go. The success stories that you can look through. And you can filter through by participant type, program type, program detail type, geographic search, which you can then filter further. And then under view more details, yep, we have career pathways that you can select and filter to. And so when you click the plus button here, that'll just pop this window open a little bit wider. And that'll show that information such as name, date, career pathway, program, location, service, and then the narrative portion of that success story. And if you click this blue tab here, what's going to happen is that'll open up a new window. It'll give you more space to view the success story, as well as give it its own unique URL if you wanted to share with somebody else. Okay. And so we'll go back here and click submit a success story. And this will take us to that guide page. Again, we can see the video, the opening text up here, and the submission portals for participants, employers, and service providers. I do want to point out that one of the things we had shared in the PowerPoint earlier was that one pager. We have this review the partner guide for writing. You can see here, we have this for customers, businesses, and communities. So we just open up this real quick. This will bring up that one pager that shows what makes an effective success story, tell the customer success, final touches, what makes a good picture and a bad picture, and step by step on how to complete the submission of the success story. And so we do have that for, again, customers, businesses, and communities. And below that, we have some of those tips that we had mentioned, things to consider when you're writing a success story. We also have additional materials down here, including, the PowerPoint that we're using today, and the guides for, we also have guides for individuals and employers submitting their own, but these here are the ones for service providers submitting on behalf of those customers. Okay, so then next we'll click this to log into your account and choose to submit a story. As you can see here, we have our options again. We'll select search. And I'm going to Olivia Miller. And once this search is here, we'll see that there's a few Olivia Millers here, but we'll verify that this is the Olivia Miller that I've been working with and I'm submitting a success story for. So we'll click select, and we can see that the participant info that has auto-populated here. And so for program type, then, if Olivia, for example, was an the incumbent worker program, what would happen is that information that's entered in IWDS, that would auto-populate here. And then you would just verify to make sure that that information is correct. And from here, you have the success story title, the success story, the narrative portion that we'll add in here. And then we'll upload a photo. And then we would check the agreement and click Save Story.
David, if I could just chime in a few things here. So when you're going to select program type, if you don't see a program, for example, like you don't see We Owe a Youth or We Owe a Adult in my dropdown, it's because I'm not in IWDS with those programs, so I cannot select those. There are some additional verification parameters around some of those WIOA programs. So if you have a customer and you're not seeing those, but you think you should be, that's when, as David mentioned, we want you to go ahead and reach out to us. It could be they maybe set up multiple Illinois workNet accounts and the one tied to their IWDS records wasn't the one selected and we need to do some cleanup. So just reach out to us if you're having issues finding somebody you know you should be finding for a specific program. And then whenever you're uploading a photo, we have a very cool photo upload tool. So it will easily help you size and make that photo look the best it should look for including on the success story. So you don't need to do a lot of work up front to get it sized right. The photo, once you upload that photo, you're going to get this cool tool it's super easy to use and help you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Olivia. And if I can kind of show a quick demonstration of that. For example, I know this isn't a face, but we're just going to go ahead and add this. So we can see the tool in action here. You can zoom in or out. You can move left or right to center it, up or down, so forth. If you need it to be rotated, but just as an example, we can also move the box over it and make sure that that photo comes in centered and looks great for the story. All right, so that's submitting a success story. What I want to do now is show the embeddable widgets page, which again you can access to the with a short URL, illinoisworknet.com/widgets. Which you can also access by any WorkNet page in the footer under About This Site. You can select Embeddable Widgets, and that'll take you to this page here. And so we have again kind of some opening text on Illinois WorkNet widgets and a presentation here about them, along with guidance, styling tips, more information down here. It kind of gets into the technical aspect of it, but you can see the browse widgets options over here, and you'll just click those and that'll load them up. So for example, let's do success story, since that's what we've been discussing this morning. And so what'll happen here is a sample will load right here. And if we scroll down, we'll see the option to configure your own. And so to configure this widget, please use the Success Stories code generator page. So once we select that, we'll then be able to customize the Success Stories widget to our specifications. So I'm going to select, let's see, LWS7. And as you can see, as I'm applying these filters, this is going to update automatically. You may also notice here that some of this code is going to change. Program type, let's select Apprenticeship Illinois. We got our height and width. EDR, we already have our regions selected, but we can see that we have a few stories in here. And so then what we would do is whether you have access to edit the site, or if there's a member as part of your programming team or IT who makes changes to the site, what you would do is you'd either copy and paste this yourself or provide that code to them, and you would paste it on the page, and it would show up on your site based on these parameters here. So in this case, it would show success stories that have an address in LWIA 7 and are part of Apprenticeship Illinois. And so then, yeah, it'll appear, what's included in this box, that's how it's going to appear on your site.
And most of the time it will be your IT or tech staff that are making the changes to your web page to get this added, but they can always reach out to us at info@illinoisworknet.com and request assistance from our team of programmers to help with that. Yes, that is correct. The widgets would have to be pasted into a website. It's not necessarily something you can put like on a Facebook page or anything. You can link directly to the service finder on Facebook, but the widgets, the embeddable widgets, are intended to be embedded into a website, a web page.
So I'm going to do another example of a widget. Let's see. So I select event calendar. We can see that, we have, this is the sample of the event calendar, but let's configure our own. Okay, so from here, we have a lot of things that we can customize here. So audience type, we can, kind of select every type of audience. So let's select, job seeker and, reentry, veteran. And so, in the Illinois WorkNet event calendar, when events are being added, there's the option to select these different audience types. And so, by applying these filters to the widget that you're putting together, any event in the WorkNet calendar that's tagged with any of these tags in any of these fields, that's going to show up on the calendar that gets generated. Because yes, at the moment, the main, sorry, I was, yeah. But you can also select, grade levels. You can select the fields of interest, if there's certain industry related events, this can be selected as well. Frequencies, if the event is, occurring on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. If you had, a recurring resume workshop event, that was, monthly, you could include that as well. In default series, these are, what we term significant events, but, as I had mentioned before, if it's apprenticeship week or entrepreneurship month, military appreciation month, you can see that we have a lot of tags here that can be selected for all these different types. And again, the code is being generated automatically. And you can also, if we have our WorkNet colors here, but you can, if there's a very specific color that you want the WorkNet calendar to be, so for example, let me just go to the home page here. So we can see that this is, this is orange here. That's dependent on, wrong tab here. A code that has a value, and we have a list here. I won't get too technical into that on this call, but if you have a very specific color, that can be determined, and you can customize the event calendar to match that color of your website. But again, you can also filter events to be all or a specific LWIA. In some cases, what I started to say earlier, I misread something in the chat. At least for events, I believe all events that are virtual will show up as well. That way, everybody has access to it, like a virtual job fair, for instance. But yeah, again, you would just provide this code to your programmer or IT staff, and they can get that included on the page. So yeah, go ahead and ask again. Are there any questions about success stories or widgets?
We did have a couple questions come in the chat, and I just wanted to repeat those in case anybody was also wondering the same thing. The success stories default to show all programs, so you can easily put the success story widget on your page and just filter to LWIA, so it's showing the success stories for your local area. And we answered the other question. And then we are recording this, so we're going to make it available on the success story guide so that you all can access it at a later time, or if there's anybody else in your organization, if you want to have like your tech people watch the little snippet of where David was going over the widgets so they have an understanding of what's going on, you can easily direct them to this video.
Thank you, Olivia. Yeah, and again, if there are any questions that come up as you're handling success stories and widgets, if you want to send an email to info@illinoisworknet.com. Olivia has shared that in the chat as well.
Yeah, and great point brought up in the chat. It's a great way for you guys to get easy access to a lot of the great information in Illinois WorkNet. It's something that the state is pushing. DCEO is constantly sharing these various resources like the Service Finder and the Job Finder and success stories. So to have that information available on your page directly to your customers and employers just helps them get to the information that's being shared by DCEO on their various social media platforms. And anytime, Julio's talking about a lot of these resources to folks or, the press, whoever he is talking to them about, it is also a great way to get this information out to local leaders and stuff, to have it on your website so they can know what all is going on in your local area without you having to recreate the wheel. You can easily just embed a lot of these tools and resources right directly into your website. And I know this was talked about, some of you guys might be hearing this for a second time. We talked about this on the monthly LWIA managers meeting, and I know I talked about it to our YCP grantees, but the success story tool is reviewed every year by the DCEO team when they're putting together that annual report that's submitted federally and made available through Illinois WorkNet and various other channels. At any time that workforce report is put together, they have to include success stories for all 4 WIOA titles. So for WIOA Title 1, how they get that is they come into Illinois WorkNet, they do a deep dive of all of the success stories that had been submitted through that year, and then they select success stories from Illinois WorkNet to include in that report and to highlight when they do that federal reporting. So it's really important that you do get your success stories submitted and put into Illinois WorkNet, so you do have a chance for them to be highlighted in that annual report. And that's another great reason to use the widget, is so you don't have to enter them in Illinois WorkNet and then enter them on your website. You guys can just embed that widget onto your website, come in and enter it on Illinois WorkNet, and then it will automatically update to be on your website through that widget. And that, David, is all I wanted to add in our conclusion of the webinar.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Olivia. Yeah, with that, again, just a couple other reminders. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll go ahead and help out as best we can. This webinar has been recorded, and we will send a follow-up later today, if not tomorrow, that will include a link to the presentation slides, a recorded webinar, and some additional information as well. And with that, seeing no other questions in the chat, we'll go ahead and wrap up early. So once again, thanks everyone for joining, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.